If you talk about whether or not the culture and the history is gone, yes, it is.
They say BC, they forget the past lah. They want our new look lah.
Younger generation definitely can't feel the spirit of the place. Yeah, very different.
Chinatown, an area home to numerous heritage sites. One of them is the China Square Conservation Area, which stretches from Southbridge Road to Telok Ayer Street. In the 19th century, it was home to early immigrants arriving from various regions of China. Many of them worked as coolies and Samsui women and lived in the tightly packed shophouses that lined the streets. They managed to make the area their own by building places of worship, schools, and associations, some of which we still see today. What once was a marketplace for trade and overcrowded living quarters has now been filled by modern eateries and trendy bars against a backdrop of sky-high office buildings. But with these changes, some may question whether China Square's heritage and soul have truly been preserved.
My name is Tan Han Cheong. I'm the third generation of Kim Po Hong Goldsmiths. My grandfather started this in 1938. So we started at 58 China Street, then we moved to 41 China Street. We've moved to Pidemco. We then moved here in this place at the China Square.
My name is Mohammed Lang. Yeah, since I working for him about 18 years. We are registered 2004. Pushkar, not here, corner there.
So I was born upstairs of the shop. Yeah. When I was very young, I do go down to the shop and I learned how to make receipts and attend to customers. My elder sister and then my younger sister, they are now running this place. And we just hop out here and there. Yeah, I still remember this is a busy street. This is really a busy street. We have an ice factory around here, bottle shops, timber shop, they sell plywood. Yeah, there's a lot of things here,
This place last time is a vegetable market. I was small. I stay here only lah, selling cigarette, kacang putih like this lah. Many.
We miss the street operas, all the snacks that we eat. We miss a lot of the old hawkers. So these are the old trade that ply around the area. You don't see them anymore. Yeah. These are the memories.
As the nation progressed, the bustling street that once filled with local hawkers started to empty out. And by the 1980s, due to overcrowding and neglect of the area, China Square was slated for redevelopment. About 200 units of pre-war buildings were identified by the urban redevelopment authorities to be conserved for its history. The exteriors are kept intact, while the interior structures were linked to make way for commercial activity. Any restoration done had made use of original materials and traditional construction methods to stay true to its heritage. Today, the preserved building structures house a new generation of food vendors that cater to patrons working around the area. But just how much do the new tenants and crowd actually know about China Square?
Sometimes I meet friends around this area for either drinks or in the afternoon for lunch.
We have like Friday nights drinking sessions like over here.
Hang out, have some drinks and stuff.
Usually just to drink and maybe eat because there is a pretty good pasta here.
I'm Boon, so I've been working at Far East Square, China Square, this area for 8 years. Been with this shop, Kokoto, for 8 years already. Previously, I really didn't know this area existed. I didn't really know of this place, the background. Yeah, I didn't look into there a lot lah.
My name is Peter. I've been here on this street for around 5 to 6 years. If you walk around here, there is a coolie statue, Samsui woman statue. There is over there is a trick shop. So these are some things that I see every day, so I kind of like know that this kind of thing happened in the past.
I only saw like a few statues and whatsoever.
I walk past and then I don't know the history.
I think the only history or heritage thing that I know is like, the shop house, but that's about it.
The customers are not coming here because of the history. Customers are coming here because of the place, like the pubs or the bars or the restaurants, keeping the tenant here fresh. is bringing people to this area lah. That's where they can experience or see and be in the vibe lah of these conserved buildings.
My name is Rachel. I'm 29 this year and I'm 4th generation. I help my aunties with photography and posting on Instagram, and I basically manage their social media. I don't remember as many old businesses as my uncle does. I do notice over the years from childhood to being a teenager and then now that the area has changed. You do see a lot more new modern eateries, and you see cafes. You see a different crowd of people also. I think in general, the vibe has changed, the culture here has changed.
There are only about 1 or 2 old shops that they are still around from the past in this area. We are probably the last few old shops that are around in this area. Very, very few left. All our old neighbors have all gone. So it's sad to see them go.
If you talk about whether or not the culture and the history is gone, yes, it is. You cannot expect to keep everything in place because we are a very fast moving and we are a very fast progressing country.
Pushka they don't want to give. They say very messy. They say messy. They forget the past lah. They want a new look lah. Then what do you think? Next generation no more this way.
The buildings are preserved, but it's not very clear what they want to do with this area, to be very honest. I feel like this area lacks a certain culture. It's kind of a mishmash of things.
Actually, you can preserve a building, but you cannot preserve the old way of life because it's different. Yeah. So you don't see the kind of vibrancy. But we have to move on. We cannot stay put in history. I mean, it's just a fact of our nationhood, and we just got to keep improving and changing.
I think it's inevitable to move on. Yeah, so even as much as we want, then it's a bit difficult.
What we see now is an empty shop, but at least this is a piece of history that we keep. Because if we don't even have this, right, then it's really gone. The history of Singapore is really gone.
One change that I would like to see is, definitely more accessible information about shop houses.
Probably more signages giving, the history of the place, or more, pictorial images.
I think if we want to preserve a certain area to tell a story, we may want to think about curating the tenants who are here and maybe be a little bit more intentional about the storytelling of these areas. Culture, the everyday culture would really increase the vibrancy.
If we can, of course, we want to stay on here all the time. No, of course, at one point we cannot survive, then we have no choice, we have to move out. We cannot stay put in time. But I think the important thing is to make sure we can pass down the history, the legacy to new generation. They can understand what the country has gone through, how we have progressed.
It seems like the spirit of China Square is one that is constantly evolving as our nation grows and develops. Although the culture that it once embodied seems to be disappearing along with the change in crowds and businesses, the preserved structures serve to encapsulate a tangible part of its heritage. And through continued conservation efforts, future generations can continue to honor Singapore's legacy and look back on how far we've come as a nation.